Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody you think might get something out of it. Other than that, how we all doing today, guys? Good day. I talked yesterday. I had an amazing day yesterday. I worked really hard. I just gotten into a zone. Ended up banging out a job that I expected to take 2 days, and when I got home last night, I was sore. When I went to bed, I started suffering from leg muscle cramps. My foot was cramping up, and when my legs was cramping up, I had to keep getting out of bed, drinking more water, took an aspirin. I'd get back in bed, it would cramp up again, and rather than being miserable, I'd get up and walk it off, and I eventually fell asleep. But I woke up exhausted. I woke up throughout the night exhausted. So I slept in an extra hour this morning. I get up rather than get up at 6, I get up at 7, and I went to the gym and went about my day. I was glad I got a lot of the work done yesterday. Well, I got that whole job done yesterday because it freed me up to get a couple of things done today that I didn't anticipate. But I was able to get everything done. I had my doctor's appointment tonight. We haven't talked about that in a minute. As you guys know, if you follow the channel, when I get into recovery this time around, I decided to go with everything that was offered to me, including medically assisted treatment. And again, and I tell everybody, use what you need, but do it responsibly. None of these medicines out there are good for you long term. So have an exit strategy. Use them responsibly. So I've been on Sublocade, which again, in the beginning they made me take Suboxone, and you got to make sure you're okay with Suboxone, because then you go to Sublocade, which is a derivative of Suboxone. Um, but it's a monthly injection that turns into a pellet and slowly dissolves. It simply blocks the opiates. Allegedly, you're able to come off it without any withdrawal symptoms. I'm hoping that's the case. But anyway, I did it as my doctors recommended, which is every 28 days for the first year. And at that point, I said, okay, well, what is my exit strategy? I thought I was just going to come off of it. And they're like, no, what you do responsibly is to wean yourself off. So I said, okay, well, let's start. So it started by going 5 weeks between appointments, and then 6 weeks between appointments. And so that brought me to today. I set my next appointment for 7 weeks, providing that goes well, which I expect it will, because 6 weeks and 5 weeks haven't bothered me at all. I will do one more appointment at 8 weeks, and I will make an appointment from there. But I'll go back in 8 weeks after the 8 week wait period injection, and providing I have no side effects, no cravings, no problems, then I'm done, and I'm thrilled for that. I've yet one more thing I've completed, and I'm proud of myself because, guys, I wanted to be able to say I'm not on anything early on. And again, as I've talked about, when my appendix burst and I walked in the hospital emergency room and they wanted to medicate me, knowing that I was on an opiate blocker scared me. I'm like, no, you guys gonna force me into an overdose before you can medicate me, and it just gave me that little leg up. But at the same time, I don't want to be on it as a long-term crutch because I'm trying to be as healthy as I can. I don't feel any effects. Like I've now gone 7 weeks between injections. I couldn't tell the difference between having it and not, which tells me I'm doing it responsibly. I am not abusing it, and I'm weaning myself off properly, and I'm really proud of that fact. Further than that, it was just a great visit with my nurses. The nurse giving me my injection tonight. Remember, she's a new nurse. There was a lot of rollover there, and this is only my second appointment with her. And even then, having seen her one time 7 weeks ago, I walked in. She remembered exactly who I was, and we had a great, you do the medical interview, and then we just had a good talk. And she's really impressed and found me very inspiring. And I don't say it to be cocky, but guys, this stuff feels good. My OBAC clinic is part of BMC, and they treat a lot of the homeless out there, and they treat a lot of people that are manipulating addiction and just suffering from addiction. So when you walk in there, and it's not just because I'm a success, from what they tell me, but it's because of the energy I bring, and I attribute that to my higher power, working my program, and understanding the power of gratitude. And that's something I realized early on, guys. There is absolute. It's more than just The thinking that, positivity breeds positivity, it's literally scientific fact. And I know a lot of people know this, but it's a whole different thing when you actually invite it. And again, it's not just something you can. For me, it's not something I could just say, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna do." I had to do a lot of work, which for me, prayer, meditation, I still do every day. Subliminal hypnosis sessions when I go to sleep every single night, and then getting up in the morning and talking about it in my prayers, and then going out and acting intentionally. And again, as I catch myself slipping, when I feel negativity enter my body, like it's the ick. Like I feel it so drastically now. And that for me has been the best indicator of when I'm in a situation that, like, whoa, pump the brakes. What do I got going on here? Because this feels not like I normally feel. And it's a great warning sign. It's a great red flag for me that I'm going down, or looking, starting to turn in a direction that I don't want to go. That's just yet one more beauty of living in a state of gratitude. Never mind the blessings that it brings in, the relationships it's allowed me to form, the opportunities it's afforded me. Because, if you, I'm a contractor, I bid jobs like with other people, and if two of us come in and we're bidding the same job and we offer the same service for the same price and we both have a good reputation, and yet I'm just a very outgoing, kind, considerate, compassionate person, then it's going to give me a leg up. And just one more, and that's just a material thing. But it's like that in every situation, whether it's when I'm working with people at the DMV, whether I'm working with people with the mortgages, whether I'm working with my therapist, my recovery coach, it's the way I welcome people at meetings. Living in a state of gratitude just brings more goodness into your life. And then I get this amazing feedback that it inspires other people. I got a call yesterday. I was meeting, my sponsor called me before I had a chance to call him. And one of the, I felt so good that he said, you know what, because guys, we go through a lot of things in life, and he was going through, he still got an amazing attitude, but he was had a bad day, and he's like, I wanted to reach out and call you because I could really use some of your enthusiasm. And guys, that warmed my heart. Like the idea that I can be there for my sponsor, because it is everything else, like everything else in life. It's a two-way relationship, and I love that I have something to bring to the table, and I love that it comes from a place of gratitude. Gratitude is such an important aspect of recovery, guys. You've got to learn to look at the good in your life and be appreciative of it. And I'm telling you, it is not only is it a benefit, but it's also a protection. A grateful heart will never use is one of the slogans we hear a lot, and it's absolutely true. That's what we're going to talk about today, guys. We're going to go with the Daily Reflections from Alcoholics Anonymous book, and it's called A Full and Thankful Heart. It's a very pertinent reading. It's a very factual reading, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart because it's how I live my life. So we're going to get into it, guys. A full and thankful heart. I try to hold fast to the truth that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits. When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know. I believe that we in Alcoholics Anonymous, or I believe that we in recovery, are fortunate in that we are constantly reminded of the need to be grateful and of how important gratitude is to our recovery. I am truly grateful for the sobriety that God has given me through my recovery program, and am glad that I can give back what was freely given to me. I am grateful not only for my sobriety, but for the quality of life that my sobriety has brought me. God has been gracious enough to give me sober days and a life blessed with peace and contentment, as well as the ability to give and receive love, the opportunity to serve others, the opportunity to serve others in our fellowship, in my family, and my community. For all of this and so much more, I have a full and thankful heart. Guys, there's so much truth in that reading, and I love that other people have been able to feel these things and then put them on paper, and then I'm working my program and I find myself in these same spots. And it's one of the areas that I stand out in. And again, boom, aspiration, I ask God, let me find a way to stand out in every crowd for a good reason. And boom, the one that it so often leads back to is my position of gratitude. I live in a permanent state of gratitude. Not, like I said, nothing perfection. I still have my moments. Things still happen. People annoy me. Life happens, guys. Life's always going to be happening. It's never. We're not. This isn't utopia. But you can make your life as close to heaven on earth as possible by being grateful, by being kind, by working hard, by working your program. And for me, it is so incredibly beautiful when I think back of how I lived for so long, and the level of despair that I'd allowed myself to live in, mostly because I wasn't being who I was. I was suffocating the person that was trying to live inside of me by medicating and by lying and by manipulating and then lying to myself more than anybody, and that's terrible. But again, forgiving myself because now I get to use that level of just despair and misery to compare to where I'm at today. And as I've always said, guys, the only equitable equation comparison is ever going to give you is if you're comparing yourself where you were to where you are to where you're going. And as long as that's on the upswing, then you're doing good. You're working a recovery program. Not all of us are going to have the exact same levels, and we're going to have good days and we're going to have tough days. But when you live in a state of gratitude, you have more tools in your pocket to overcome the tough days. You learn, the more you work your program, you come to understand that tough days are supposed to be there. There's an ebb and flow to everything, and as long as if you're finding every day to be a terrible day, well then that's a sign there. You've got to look at it and check your gratitude. And literally, this is one of the things when people reach out to me and they ask how can they get to where I'm at as far as my level of happiness and the way I'm able to deal with stress and deal with life. The very first thing I tell them, because I think it's the most important, is start a gratitude list. Because if you're struggling and you're fighting against everything and you're starting to get the woe is me and you feel like everybody's against you, you're not living in a place of gratitude. You're not paying attention to the good in your life. You're more than likely unhappy with yourself and just putting it outward, because that's what we do. And I was the most guilty of it as anybody, guys. But it doesn't get you anywhere. You worry about, and that's one thing I adopted early on, and I'm so glad I did. By learning to just worry about my side of the street, the fable of don't try to take the stick, don't try to take the thorn out of your brother's eye if you got a tree branch sticking out of yours. Okay, I realized that I needed to clean my side of the street, and the best way I can help others is not by coming down and telling them what they're doing wrong, but by living right and showing them how well it works when you're living right, when you're being appreciative, when you're being kind. Like, it's something I decided because, again, when I prayed and I meditated, I looked and said, well, what do I have for positive attributes? And again, people always said, well, you have an ability to handle stress, you're able to overcome, you're able to see the good. And again, at some points I took it too far that I would ignore red flags in personal relationships, but that's a whole other course of it. But there's just so much that comes from it. So I realized that and said, well, that's a God-given gift, and that is something that has saved me so many times, even in my addiction, when I was in a position where things weren't going to go good, but like things could have gone really, really bad, like dangerous, and oftentimes it was my kindness or something I done decent, somewhere where I had that little bit of integrity, or I just I didn't feed into the negativity that somebody took notice of and then spared me from something they could have dropped the hammer on me from. So I realized that, again, that was a God-given attribute that comes natural to me, that is a very positive and fruitful attribute, so let me lead from there. And as I did, I started to feel, I started to find out who I was, and then find the person that I could love. And that's one of the biggest gifts that this recovery has given me, and I've been given so many, guys. I feel so, and I'm not saying material stuff. Nobody's giving me new Harleys and Ferraris and free trips to Disney World or whatever. But I've been given self-respect, a sense of self-worth, the ability to look in the mirror and love who I see, the confidence to go out and do good things. Like, I used to walk around feeling like there was something wrong with me because I was nicer than other people. That's insane. Like, that's how deluded I was, right? No, I've got a very positive disposition. That is an absolute benefit. It is a God-given gift. that I need to share with the world. It's my responsibility to share with the world because it offsets some of the negativity. And as I've done so, I've seen where it works so many times. Some of the best compliments I've been given, and I get them fairly regularly, and I'm so grateful for that, is when people come up to me and say, you know what, I see you overcome, see that, I see the way you deal with things, it's inspired me to look and do a little bit better in my own life. Wow. Are you telling me I'm making a little bit of a difference out here? Whew. That makes up for a lot of tragedies I created and a lot of shitstorms I walked through. Internally, for me, doesn't matter. I'm not getting awards and plaques, and I don't care for that. But at the end of the day, when I sit back, and we all do, we reflect sometimes, and every so often I'll see a situation that reminds me of something terrible I did, and I'll have just genuine remorse, like, oh, I feel so bad for because I do. I feel horrible for the things that I did when I was walking addiction. I've forgiven myself for them. I don't dwell on them, but I feel, and when I'm reminded of them, and it's usually not that I'm beating myself up, but I see a situation in life, and I'm like, yeah, it reminds me of, oh, geez, and I feel bad. It's moments when I realize that I've done good, and I've inspired others to do good, and I made a difference in somebody else's day, or I said something that made a difference in someone else's life and set them on the right path. That's what offsets those things, and it tips the balance, tips the scale in favor of me loving myself. Like, we leave the past behind when we get into recovery, right? But in order to do so, you've got to want to live the life you're creating. And the best and fastest way that I've found to get there is to look at the things that I'm grateful for and then be grateful for them. Not say you are, not say I'm gonna learn. No, actually being it. And it's something. It's happened from within, and it's happened for me through prayer and meditation and being introspective, and again training my brain to do so. So, however you have to get there, if you can't do it on your own, then seek help. Talk to a therapist, doctor. Get. It's another thing. In my former life, I'd poo-poo on self-help or professional help and think, oh, why do you need... No, we do, because we've been through a lot of things. Myself, PTSD, the traumas, the things I did to myself. Yes, I required professional help, and I sought it this time, and it made a difference, guys. And it's not something I have to rely on, but I've got a great relationship with all these different people. I was actually at the doctor's office today, and a gentleman came in behind me, and immediately he was walking in a state of gratitude. And again, just like myself, he stood out like a sore thumb because there's so many people that are not at that particular doctor's office. It's Methanomile, BMC, Melanie and Cass, and Mass Ave in Boston. If you're in the area, you know it's a pretty tough place. And he was right behind me, and I said something positive, and he jumped right in, and he introduced himself, and we got to talking. This guy's got about between 7 and 8 months of sobriety, just graduated the Hope House, got himself into the YMCA. He's working on the wreckage of his past, and he's going back to the house he graduated from to have dinner with. And I sat down and got to know him, and I took his number, and I invited him to my Friday meeting, and he actually watched the YouTube video and was watching one of my videos. And Joe, if you watch it tonight, man, it was great to meet you today. Guys, it made my day. It made me happy to see somebody else that sees the power of gratitude that I do. And again, I saw the difference he was making in the doctor's office. And I know what it's like when people are watching me and inspired, because I was inspired by him. And I'm already there, and it's beautiful. Guys, a thankful heart will not only, not use, but it'll invite more beauty. It'll inspire you to get up and do the work. All these things go hand in hand. Not just, every one of them is a powerful tool. But when you take them all and you put them together, they create a life that will shock you. That will inspire you and give you confidence that you can literally do anything if you're willing to put in the work. And the fastest way to get to feel better about yourself is to be a good person, to do good things. Be somebody you can be proud of. Be the change that you want to see in the world. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm trying to do so to the best of my ability, and it's working unbelievably well. My life is startlingly different now than it's ever been, and I will fight tooth and nail to keep that because it's worth it. You're worth it. I'm worth it. We all are. Guys, that is the video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.